Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rotten Tomatoes is Wrong. I'm here, Jacqueline Coley, alongside my incredible co-host, Mr. Mark Ellis, and joining us again, producer Brian, for our After Dark episode. We're getting high, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
We're not.
Legally, no.
No, we're not. We're sober as a judge, but it is 420.
As a producer,
sober as a judge.
I know.
I like that line. I never knew judges to be like the measure of sobriety.
I mean, they should be.
Well, ideally, but
you would
like,
hope that a judge is sober.
Yeah, you always think of like I can imagine Fred Gwynn and My Cousin Vinny taking a couple sips of Grandpa's cough medicine when everybody else is at recess.
Yeah, but that's not what you would want. You'd still want them to.
It's not the ideal.
What do the judges do? The lawyers are busy doing all the other stuff. The judge just says hearsay, blah, blah, blah.
He has to watch, which is literally one of the times when being sober.
Stay awake.
Yeah, staying awake and paying attention, that is a sober person's endeavor. And we would know that, ladies and gentlemen, because we're about to recount 25 of our favorite stoner movies ranked from RottenTomatoes.com. Next week is 420, the Stoner's Holiday. We also want to give you guys 20 best movies to watch high. These are both editorials that you guys can check out over on the website, which I think is interesting with this list because I actually do believe this list has a little bit of both. I feel this list has everything about this list pertains to weed in some way. You will see someone in here partaking in some form of inebriation. But stoner movies, I don't know.
The definition of a stoner movie. That's why I included the second list because I'm like, would I watch Easy Rider if I'm high legally?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know if I call it a stoner movie or a movie that includes people getting high.
This is where editorial comes into it. See, so we determined.
I think this is Alex Vo.
Yes, this is Alex Vo because
the best.
He is the best.
Alex
actually,
is great.
He really is the best because these listicles. The one thing I would tell you, I can't think of a single one of these movies that would not be improved by being high.
Okay,
and I would also say all of them have elements of high to them. I don't disagree with Easy Rider. The reason why I don't is because Easy Rider defined a counterculture before it was defined.
It was sort of like that hippie generation, and so you associate with the hippie generation, the peace and the love and Woodstock and all that stuff. It's like people were having fun at Woodstock. There's some bad red rope licorice going around in the crowd, to quote Wayne's World 2, mocking the scares that they had at Woodstock. But like when I think of stoner movies, that's my question. It's like if I just put the term stoner movie into your head, what is the first movie that comes to mind? For me, it's actually Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably not a coincidence because that was the first time that I realized that I was watching dudes who were getting high constantly because we put that on in high school. And so they reminded me of people that I'd already seen on TV and movies. Like they reminded me of, because I'd already seen Wayne's World by then and I'd already been introduced to some of the Pauly Shore movies. But it's all, I mean, a lot of that came from Cheech and Chong and their comedy, their albums, and then their movies. And so by the time I came to Up in Smoke, I was like, I kind of knew what was going on and it was hilarious to me. So I always look back on like stoner movie. If you're making a stoner movie, you're sort of speaking my language, even though I didn't necessarily come to partake in any of that stuff until I needed help sleeping.
I always wondered about your habits because I feel like, in high school, you were like the good kid.
I was the good
didn't
kid.
do the drugs and the alcohol and all that stuff.
I never even drank in high school. I might have
How much of that was based in anxiety?
I might have no anxiety whatsoever.
You
it was
have
more
one beer?
I mean like not wanting to be addicted to something.
It had nothing to do with the addiction. It was more getting caught.
That was my paranoia.
Not even by my parents, by my high school basketball coach. That's what I really didn't want to get caught by. And so we had that, but then you also compound that with the fact that like, you know, it wasn't the addiction thing. It was also just like, I was going to be a professional athlete, Jacqueline. I got to treat my body right. And then you realize, maybe it's not going to happen for you. So
a whopping 5'7".
So you had
I'm 5'10" and a half.
You had the focus of Michael Jordan with the shot of Sam Bowie. Damn.
You're the number 2 and 3 draft picks in the 84 draft. Well done, Jacqueline.
Or were you more Mel Turpin? I'm sorry, we just saw Eric.
I wasn't even Melvin Turpin. Yeah, wasn't even. But I mean, you know, so you come to this, and it's more from a comedic sensibility. Is why I think I always appreciated stoner movies because more often than not, with the exception of Easy Rider, I might say on this list, every one of these is trying to make you laugh. It might be like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Easy Rider are the two like the more serious stoner movies where it's like, oh, there's actual stuff going on we got to take seriously. Everything else is just a fun lark. We're just doing this crazy. We're high. We're stumbling around, and that's sort of the vibe that I think of when I think of stoner movies.
Well, the thing I would say to you is, and let me put some editorial on you, Brian.
Yeah.
This is how we earn our
Boy,
money.
does he need it.
This is what it is. When Alex, and granted, if he was here, and I would honestly suggest him coming for any one of our ranked episodes to do his methodology. When I was looking at this list, when you work here long enough, you can determine exactly what they're doing. This is not. You shouldn't think of this as favorite movies for stoners, or you should not even think of this as favorite movies with stoners in them.
It's called favorite stoner movies ranked. What do you?
Favorite stoner movies rank in the sense of favorite stoner movie representations.
Okay.
That is what they're actually trying to accomplish. If you look at this list, what they're trying to show you are various different types of stoners, so that you can see different aspects of it. So you look at the Easy Rider. This is like the counterculture version of it. You look at Dazed and Confused. These are Texas stoners. And really what you're doing is you're getting a cross-section of the different types of comedic ways that we can show stoners on screen. And if you look at it that way, things like Inherent Vice, We Are the Millers, all make a lot more sense.
Okay. So you got really heady for someone who just wants to see Dazed and Confused and just drop out.
Just giggle.
No, but if you really look at it, every
what
one of these, they just show a different version of stoner representation, and that's why they call it the 50. Because the point of this list is not for you to give a definitive list that every stoner will like. That is what the other one is, best movies to watch high.
Yeah.
This is actually a list of the best representations of stoners that we've seen in cinema throughout the years and their score.
So that's why we get a wider swath of. There's some dramatic
it's a
stuff
representation list.
I
would say Wayne's World is like a good stoner movie. Like any kind of comedy that's silly and funny, you just
that's a good movie to watch while you're high.
It's a great movie to watch while high, but you don't necessarily get the drug culture.
And it's actually purposefully removed from Wayne's World. And somebody like Alex, I absolutely think so. Alex, just so you know, is a whiteboard artist, meaning like this is what we used to do in the office. Is he literally just sits there, and when he starts with this, and he puts the title of whatever the list is, and he just writes a long
he just
whiteboard.
Gets high and he's like, "Let me see what movies I love."
Yeah, and well, no, he just writes a list of every stoner movie, and then it's sort of like Charlie Day in that Always Sunny episode where it's like, all right, like let's hear the argument for this one. Why does this one need to be on the list?
And then I thought you were going to go back to, because you just referenced Air. And
yes, very true.
This is like Alex works at Nike, and he's like, which athlete do we want to represent wearing our shoe? So you're looking at all these, and you're like, okay, that's my number one pick. That's my number two pick. That's my number three.
And so you really do it that way, but it is about. This has to be defended to be on the list first, and then you rank them in order. But you have to make sure that it earns a spot first.
Okay. I would love to hear that conversation of like, do we include Scary Movie?
Well, if you worked and ever went over to the editorial section.
There's nobody in the office right now. If I go right there, everyone's working from home in their pajamas right now.
No, but we literally used to have these editorial meetings, and now we just do them more virtually.
Brian doesn't get invited to the editorial party.
Now we send them. Now we send them those lists. We send them via Google, our version of Google. It's all virtual, but it's the same thing. It'd be like, all right, Alex, I'm working on this list. Give me your votes for this. We literally just did this the other day with the 25. I'm doing a list of the 25 best quotes. 25 best speeches from Oscars. For the past 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to come up with the list, and then guess what? We all editorial people then put ours together, and then we defend it. And so, no offense, guys. Y'all are getting into some in-family squabbling. Before we started the podcast, Brian was like, I don't even know what editorial does here. And I'm like...
I thought you just show up to the podcast.
No.
That's what I do.
No, that's you. That's Mark.
If anybody is qualified to talk about the list of stoner movies, it'd be me, because while everybody else that works here is on Slack, I just kind of made the excuse that every time I hear the Slack sound effect, I just get this fever dream trigger, so I can't. It sounds like the Predator to me. It's like stalking me. So I actually do just sit at home, because I work at night, and my comedian culture is very closely linked to stoner culture, in that, we're just kind of hang out all day, don't really do anything, and then you're goofy on stage, you come up with jokes. That's what I think of when I think of stoner movies, but that's not necessarily fair, because that's what stoner comedies may be.
Yes.
But there's other movies. However, if you're going to talk about movies that you want to watch high, I would look at the list of the stoner movies ranked and say, get Inherent Vice as far away from it as
that is
possible.
not a good trip.
And to be fair, that's me sober or high or drunk or any other state of mind. I could not stand that movie.
And the other thing that told me that too was when I was looking at this, I was like, where is Clerks? But it's like he specifically chose Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as the best representation of the stonerist, of the stoner versions of, honestly, I would say Silent Bob and Jay are two of the most famous stoners in cinema.
Of course,
Of all the movies they've been in, that is the most stoner movie. That is the biggest, like they have Blunt Man in that one. You know what I mean?
Chronic,
they have all of that in there.
$15,
So again, not just to bring the point home one more time, that's how you put some editorial on them bitches.
Dang, there you go. That's very heady. Again, I just want to get high and giggle.
That's where the other list. The other list is for you. Best movies to watch high. We have a list for everyone, Brian.
So
it is not just the one.
Okay, what are we going to disseminate first here? What do we want to talk about first?
Yeah, all right. Like this is the one I was going to say. We'll start with the 25 movies ranked.
Okay.
I would say we'll go down the list, but it's a pretty exhaustive list. I'll let you all pick one.
One what?
To talk about first that you think. I'll give you this one. What is your favorite pick on here, and then which one would you kick out? You already kicked out Inherent Vice.
Of the 25, and I am kicking out Inherent Vice.
So you're kicking out Inherent Vice. Which one are you kicking out? And then I'll give you the ones that you're like, this is the top dog on the list.
I would kick that out too. And because I love Dazed and Confused and I love This Is the End, but they're very different movies. Like This Is the End, I'm dying laughing. Just
very funny.
Nonsense. So funny. Dazed and Confused is just a vibe.
It's a hangout movie.
Yeah, you're just hanging out. There's some funny moments. Like
but
watch
it's
the leather, man.
It's the hangout stoner representation.
I get it, but I guess it depends on your personality as a stoner.
Fair.
Like what do you connect to? I connect to more of Seth Rogen like doing the Backstreet Boys dance at the end of the movie.
Fair.
And I'm just dying. And Danny McBride.
Okay, so you'll kick out probably...
Inherent Vice.
Inherent Vice. Is there any other one that you would kick out? Because I have other ones I would kick out.
I mean, Reefer Madness. Who's watching Reefer Madness?
By the way, this is a representation of the GOP
50s.
propaganda stoner.
You gotta have Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I just can't imagine.
Oh no, it's a trip.
You've seen it?
It's a
the
literal.
one that I would kick out is We Are the Millers, because I feel that one is the one that is most tangentially not attached to that, because the stoner we're representing is the stoner scammer. I understand that. That's who Jason Sudeikis plays, is the basically the
and
Peter.
It's based on drugs.
Yeah, and it's based on,
The plot involves weed.
And it does involve weed.
And
he's a drug addict, isn't he? Like he's a complete stoner. Yeah, he's like a stoner dude. Like not stoner like very Peter Parker in Into the Spider-Verse from the Jake Johnson universe. That's what he is. You know, this is the guy that does not have his crap together. Yeah. He is just smoking weed and making mistakes and showing why he probably grew up in a broken home. That's what he is in this movie. And so I don't feel that one doesn't
connect with you.
It doesn't connect with me. And like I do it. Also, I will say Cheech and Chong ended up here twice. With good reason. They deserve to be here twice. They have 2 movies, but if you know Nice Dreams compared to Up in Smoke, it is literally like 2 different movies. The first one was their big studio movie. Well, shouldn't say studio movie. Their most production value version of what they were doing. Nice Dreams is a fantasy movie. It's like Disney Duck. Remember that Daffy Duck Treasure Island cartoon where they just do all kinds of crazy stuff? It's like a compilation movie. And so I really do defend this list for the carefulness of it.
Yeah, it's much tougher for me because I see Inherent Vice and I'm like, that's the one that's off. Even though there's other movies that are tougher watches for me, but just because, again, this list isn't the movies that we want to watch necessarily. This is the movies that we feel need to be considered.
The essentials. The
stoner,
essentials.
In all different like parts and areas and corners of stoner culture.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at everything else feels like it at least has earned a place in here. Scary Movie to me feels more like a film that I would want to watch high versus something that's like, that I would put in the National Archives as this needs to be known as a stoner movie.
It doesn't. There's scenes of consumption of
stoner
weed and
horror comedy. Stoner horror comedy is what it's trying to do. Is there another one on here that even remotely gets near the horror comedies place? Maybe
horror and weed should go hand to hand more than
the Leprechaun movie Black in the Hood has it.
When he
gets
goes, right, Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah, Leprechaun in the Hood. They get him high.
Yeah,
and he has like a whole like PCP moment.
Sure, I don't remember.
Sure.
Yeah,
What about like a Get Out? Like that's a not stoner comedy.
No.
Oh, actually,
that is actually one of those. I have weird movies that I watch high. Like movies that somebody else wouldn't watch high, but I would watch Get Out high. I would also watch I would also watch Midsummer High, even though I hate that movie, because that's the movie to watch high, so you can laugh at this ridiculousness.
So you can giggle at some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Insane.
I do need to point this out because one of our fans is going to do it if I don't. I actually was in a stoner horror movie that had a great premise.
No.
I'll look that up right now.
Yeah, type it in. I'll say it once if you need to blurp it out. Then, and again, this is probably why the movie wasn't all that successful. The name of the film was Little and I literally forgot about it until you mentioned Leprechaun. They get the Leprechaun high. So the premise of Little Effort is I play an exterminator.
You played Lloyd.
Yeah, I played Lloyd.
Jesus.
And Chuck was played by a brilliant actor named Max. And so it's me and Max Mullion, and we are these two exterminators, and we're cleaning out this like house, and or an abandoned warehouse or something, and we find this creature with kind of like an Ewok, and it's like super menacing, but we're stoners. And we found out that if we get this thing high, then it's just like a really fun kind of hang. But when the weed runs out, that's when it gets ornery and starts killing people. So we bring Little Effort to a Halloween party, and the weed runs out. And so Little Effort doesn't have any more weed to keep him pacified, so he just starts murdering everybody. And we got to stop Little Effort before he kills every last person at the party.
Jesus.
We stop him by just giving him more weed?
Yeah. And that was pretty much how the production was run, too.
That's a cool concept.
Max and I probably improv 80% of the movie. And
do you have like a DVD of this?
I probably don't anymore, but I don't know if it's available anywhere. The trailer is still on YouTube. So you can still watch the trailer for, I think they changed it. They, like 10 years later, they finally realized that maybe the name Little Effort isn't the best.
Not to market.
To market.
Yeah.
So they changed it to something else. I can't remember what it was, but this is just when I was doing a lot of like commercials, and it's like, yeah, sure, I'll do a feature film. The whole thing shot at this like abandoned warehouse in Pasadena for 2 weeks.
Wow.
But it was a stoner horror comedy. And that is where my brain went, not because I'm trying to champion myself, but because I'm trying to think there's very little stoner horror movies that you get.
Yeah, nothing I can think of.
So it's basically...
there's a few like any of the horror comedies may have like stoner aspects to them. Like there's always the one stoner dude that's gonna die. Yeah. So like there's that.
Oh,
that's what Marlon.
Like a Freddy movie or a Jason movie, there's gonna be that one teenager that's like really into drugs.
But no, to your point, I think that's also partially why we have this entry on the list. Like, let's be real.
Movie?
Yeah, like I feel like that's the reason why it's out there. I will also add to the one that I love the best on this list, and it wouldn't be one that I think other people would appreciate it, but that's Super Troopers, because I feel like Super Trooper hits so many of it. It's a straight comedy, which is just fun to be high. In addition to that, it had this cult-like status where so much of it was like subversive and underground, and it never felt like adults were doing this movie, and every aspect of it was a part of that. And it showed, I think, these really hilarious stoners, and that they were cop stoners in this case. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean?
Isn't that Brian Cox? Isn't he like
Brian Cox is in that.
Great actors, just being silly, Broken Lizard stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate all of it.
And that was also very similar to a lot of these guys in here. Some of these guys managed to sneak in really respected actors into their movies of these like ridiculous settings.
Well, The Big Lebowski has
Jeff Bridges, but more important than that, Soul Plane with
Snoop Dogg
in that one. But like just the weed brings people together. Half Baked had like half of Hollywood. That's what I was trying to find. Half Baked, where it was like all of these cameos show up for that one.
I'm glad you brought up Half Baked, because that's another movie that I think it might be the most stoner movie of anything on this list, other than Cheech and Chong maybe, but because it's so funny, but it also, that is what it's about. And it's about just dealing with life while you're super high all the time, whether you're going on a date or whether you're just sitting on the couch. Like, there's so many great laughs in Half Baked, but it is a great stoner movie.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, cameos. Bob Saget has a great cameo in it.
Bob Saget has an amazing cameo in that one. Amazing comedy in that one. It's actually really funny. What's crazy now about a lot of these movies, that I even thought of it when we were doing Super Mario Brothers. We were talking about Bob Hoskins and Dennis Hopper. It's the Hodgkin's Hopper. Like
it's Hoskins.
Am I saying Hoskins? I'm saying Hodgkin's, like lymphoma.
like Hodgkin's. Yeah.
Say it again.
People know who you're talking about.
Hoskins.
Hopper.
It's Hoskins and Hopkins is what's getting you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Hopper.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what the
And
flip?
again, we want to reiterate it's illegal. We did not get Hopper.
No.
We're totally
Before we
sober
did
as a
this.
judge.
Yeah.
Seriously. Bob and Dennis, they're both gone. Bob's gone. Like, so many of these movies that we recount them now, we talk about these people as so present because these performances of theirs. Like, think about Bob Saget in that movie and just how hilarious is in this line read. You cannot think of that person as not alive. Because he's just so vibrant in that moment. But he is unfortunately lost us, and a couple of these movies have similar names already.
You could make a list that's a
Dennis
lot longer
Hopper.
than 25 movies or 20 movies about movies that get better when you might be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers, I might put it from
Absolutely.
93. I might put it at the top of that list.
I will say it's so funny. Again, this is actually not me giving you business anymore about Editorial, but it is true about the Editorial team. Everybody has their areas of expertise, and Alex is really good with like animation. Debbie obviously knows TV, but more importantly, she's really great with, I think, underground sci-fi like TV shows. Like she's a big Trekkie or whatever. Ryan knows a lot about, I would say, like really small, more like independent films, like similar to me. And everybody has their things, but I am definitely known for, is it thirsty? Like, is it thirsty? And not thirsty like porn, thirsty like Cinemax, thirsty like Outlander, thirsty like 365 Days, thirsty in the sense of like, if people are going to entertainment, basic instinct, stuff that's going to make them feel entertained, but also really sexy, I'm the person that will call those balls and strikes. But the other thing is, which things are good for the stoner crowd? Like, which content? I am the person, I'm not saying this is because of anything that I am.
Not at all.
My father listens to this podcast. Hey, Dad. My stepdad listens to this podcast. Whatever. He knows weed is legal.
Well, I was going to say, for your top 10 movies of last year, you included Jackass Forever.
I did.
And the Jackass series, you get high, you get drunk, you watch those movies, you die laughing.
Those feel like,
I would say I would have put Jackass on here if it wasn't clearly that these are narrative features, as opposed to that's more, live action, whatever, documentary or whatever.
Yeah.
But they are stoner representation. They're aged stoners.
Totally.
They're aged stoners. Yeah. These are the guys that used to be listening to like Black Flag and they were really punk rock and they've aged into it now. This is for the Dave Grohl crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. which is sort of cropped up as you get older, but you still appreciate the things, certain aspects of your youth. And that's sort of that's another reason why Jackass Forever is such a beautiful movie.
Goonies and stoners never say die.
Goonies and stoners never give up. Yeah, I mean, look, it's got some medical benefits, but if you,
that's why we do it.
If you talk about the best movies to watch high now, so if we move over to the other list, like the 20 best movies to watch high, I actually think that's a much tougher job to do, to just narrow that down to 20.
Yeah.
Well, then because that's more personal taste.
Yeah.
Whereas with the 25 best stoner movies, like what Jacqueline said, it's like, let's get some representation. Let's make sure that there's a horror movie in there. Let's make sure that there's dramatic stuff. And then there's a lot of comedies too, and different types of comedies. Like Friday is a very different comedy than, say, Dazed and Confused, which is a very different comedy than, say, Scary Movie 3. So, but the movies to watch high, that can run the gamut.
How do you
could
define
be anything.
One thing I would ask you now that you've heard my deep ethos on the first list, now that you've looked at this list,
the best movies to watch high?
What's high? I think I have also discerned some of the ethos to this because, it says it in the title, but I do think there's like an extra layer to it. What do you think was the most sort of like, how do you think they define the parameters of it? Because I think I kind of.
Well, now it makes sense when you guys get together in your little tribes and you just have the thing on the whiteboard. You're like, does Tron Legacy belong on there? Does the Pink Floyd
By the way,
Wall?
most of this is just in Alex's brain now. Like, it's not like.
I can see, this is just very representative of Alex and his nights at home.
maybe not.
But I can see why The Matrix is in there or Pulp Fiction or whatever. But like something like Logan's Run, just like a heady kind of sci-fi, like that's not on the list, but I would put Logan's Run on there because that movie messes with me, man. And I can. That movie's wild.
I want to get deeper into this. Why does Logan's Run mess with you? Because you sound really.
Do you know the premise of it?
Yeah.
They die at age 30.
Yeah.
And they go to Sanctuary and they all get lifted up like, oh, we're going to be like saved and go to Sanctuary. And they just die in front of everybody. And it's a wild movie. I wish they remade it and did it amazingly.
There was talks that they were going to remake it. Didn't they remake it as like a TV show too?
At one point, they wanted Nicholas Winding Refn was supposed to do it with Ryan Gosling, but
that was the TV show. Was that one? Yeah.
And so Gosling just did Blade Runner 2049 instead.
Yeah, it's kind of the same.
Made another companion. Sort of.
And I think the way that got received probably turned him off from it too.
Could have been it.
He's doing Barbie now.
That movie was fun.
His
could be a stoner movie.
Yeah,
Barbie.
it could be a wild stoner movie.
Yeah.
speaking of Coen Brothers movies, like, because we have the Big Lebowski on the other list, but A Serious Man, does anyone know that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie too. And that's another one that's like, oh my God, I'm like losing my mind like watching it.
See, so I think his logic for this one is I think all of these movies play better / different if you are high watching them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily that these are movies that if you're high, the visuals or subject matter will particularly affect you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more, if you are in an inebriated state, the enjoyment factor for this movie can be appreciated on a level that you cannot appreciate if you are sober. Does that make sense?
Yes, but it's very confusing that like Inception's on here along with Tropic Thunder.
That's why this is a beautiful
or
list.
21 Jump
So that's
Street.
what I would say.
Yeah.
So I would tell you that I think that makes sense. The absurdity of Tropic Thunder and like just this idea of them not getting where they are when you are stoned is way more hilarious than if you're just, because honestly, it's more of like a workplace comedy when you aren't stoned. But
They're just
when
trying
you're
to make a movie.
But when you're stoned, you're like literally looking at this on like the other level. So actually, no, I do. I think Step Brothers, if you're stoned when you're watching it, you can see your own level of stepbrotherness in yourself as you're watching it. It's like they're pieces of I'm pieces of and here we are just together in this vibe.
I am coughing a lot during this episode. It's not because I got high.
I know you're coughing off mic.
I'm not.
All right.
Yeah, it's just now I got a coughing.
But Step Brothers does hit different because of the one-liners of just like, why are you so sweaty? I was watching Cops.
So
that just hits like, imagine a guy sweating while he's watching Cops.
It's so funny. That's why I love this list, is because I feel like this list is either just hilarious comedies that are going to get funnier if you're high, or it's sort of like that mind expansion, which is what you would get with Tron Legacy, with The Fall, with Pink Floyd, The Wall, maybe even The Fifth Element in there a little bit too, but definitely stuff like The Matrix and 2001. Like, if you get high, you're not suddenly giggling at 2001: A Space Odyssey, but it also is going to make you maybe think about the movie differently. Under proper supervision, of course.
Look, being stoned is a state of depressed relaxation. Like basically sensory issues, things that would normally bother you don't bother you as much. That's because you're
more open and
open to stimulus.
Yes.
Positive stimulus or negative stimulus. It's basically just open you up to that. And so like I get it. I get why it can be Pink Floyd The Wall. Or something like Spirited Away, where maybe you just want to watch, or 2001, you just want to watch those with the sound off and just geek out with the visuals.
Literally, the ending of 2001, where it's just like lights just flashing in your face.
Exactly.
I would lose my mind.
But I also could really appreciate Shaun of the Dead. Like that
Airplane.
film, or Grand Budapest Hotel. The delivery of the lines in Grand Budapest Hotel, that sort of like earnest absurdity that he employs.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's great.
Yeah, but like when I was a kid, I thought that, but even before I saw like Cheech and Chong, and I realized kind of like what they were doing, why they acted the way they did. When I was a kid, I thought like something like 2001 was a stoner movie to me, because I'm like, oh, that's just like adults just get high and just like kind of stare at this. You didn't really understand all of it. Even Pink Floyd The Wall. Like my friends watched that a lot in high school, and they now that I look back, they probably were getting, and I just like wasn't aware of it. So I was that stupid. But you're like, oh, they're watching this on a totally different wavelength than I am. And so it's so funny to see that on a list with something like Step Brothers, which will make me laugh sober or high.
Yeah.
But there's times now when I am relaxing with my herbal medication, I uncontrollably laugh at stuff that is funny. But if I'm it really does, like I'm slapping my knee sober, I'm on the floor if I had my gummy.
Well,
Family Guy does that a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, growing up, because you weren't like in the culture or like smoking at all, could you appreciate like a stoner comedy, like a Pineapple? Well, not
I could have appreciated the Pineapple Expresses of the world because I met folks like Wayne and Garth and Pauly Shore and Encino Man.
So you understood
and so
character.
Those were sort of the gateways to, why are these guys acting like that? Like, I intrinsically understood that Wayne and Garth and Cheech and Chong are cool. But I didn't necessarily understand why. I was like, it's because they're not really like doing what society tells them to do at that age. Like what is it about it? And then that's sort of your entry point. And so when you are looking at people and you're a kid and you say, oh, that's a cool person, you're naturally going to gravitate towards that, you know? And so whether you know why they're cool or not, you just know that everybody seems to like them. Again, they're getting laughs. people want to watch their movie. So it's like,
or like a McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. Like, why does everyone love this
he's
character?
Just so he's a creep when you watch it.
Yeah, when you watch it back.
But
like,
he's cool.
Yeah.
And like, why is he like that? Even if you can't quite wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
I think it's
when
just
you
the
get older.
absence of anger in people that are normally very angry.
That's
like
the opposite
honestly,
of it.
Like, why can't I be like
the average cis white dude in the 70s was just very angry. So anyone walking around that was just like, "What's up, man?" It was freaking
like literally chill,
a unicorn.
Yeah.
I think the only way I would look at it is whatever these stoner movies, what you want to say stoner, whatever, is stoners used to be coded. Like back when it was the Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, it wasn't that Bob Denver was a stoner. Gilligan was not a stoner explicitly, but like if you look back on it, that's what he is.
Yeah.
He's coded to be an actual stoner. People like not Cheech and Chong, but Wayne and Garth were also coded to be stoners because they started on SNL when they couldn't explicitly say that they were. Why were they in the basement doing this public radio show?
Access show with their guitar that's not plugged in.
It was not like that. They were stoned out of their mind.
Anyone from your like for instance, the Ninja Turtles?
Yeah,
Michelangelo.
They're all coded. Yeah,
high all the time.
They all are. It's just Raphael's the more responsible one, but they're all
Leonardo
stoner. Sorry, Leonardo. That's right. Sorry, yeah.
Raphael
is not the.
And we've talked about this.
I'm sorry.
He's a locker room cancer. Get him off the turtles. All he does is cause trouble for the other turtles.
What's his weapon?
The size.
You know why?
Which look cool.
Yeah,
do you know the? Okay.
He basically has tuning forks as a weapon.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to give y'all? I'm going to give you this thing. So the turtles are actually given weapons to fit their personality. The reason why Raphael is given the sai is because the sai is protective instrument, and it's actually not meant to attack. And he's the most antagonist member of the team.
He needs therapy the
most.
And
Michelangelo has nunchucks because nunchucks require intense concentration, and he's a bit of a scatterbrain, and so he gave him a weapon that would make him focus.
Master
Raphael,
Splinter, by the way.
Whoa.
Master Splinter might have been the biggest stoner.
Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm gonna take
the guy
these turtles.
That does the
train them in martial arts.
The guy that does the baton is the most technological one because he was the
most
smart,
basic
and it was the most
weapon.
basic, and it wanted to keep him grounded to realize even though you're very smart, you should stay grounded. And then
Leonardo
is the leader
katana.
with a katana, and he is actually the most conscientious and the most likely to protect his brothers.
So that's why he's got the lethal weapon.
And that's why he has the lethal weapon.
You've
thought about this.
My mind.
No, this is literally like part of the I mean, they were named after philosophical painters.
Yeah.
Like, they were named Renaissance painters, and those guys were not just guys that painted. They were guys that thought.
You literally opened my mind.
Wow. I got to rewatch Secret of the Ooze again.
I've known of the turtles my whole life. I just never thought of it like that.
No shade to Raphael. Yeah, he is antagonistic because even in a family, you need somebody to be the black sheep because they're usually the ones that say, ain't right now.
Dude.
Speaking of Rotten Tomatoes and their incredible editorial staff, that's an article that I want to see. I want to see Jacqueline's article. I want a 10-page paper.
Again, that's just what we do over here. That's just what we do. But no, look, let's get back to this because whatever. I will say I'm a little jaded by this. The two things at Rotten Tomatoes you will get very quick with learning how to defend: a score and a guide, because there will always be people. I feel like us and the people at Watch Mojo know what's up. The minute you put a parameter on a list, you'll have somebody coming for you being like, F that. That's partially why we make them. But there's the one thing I will say about all these, we have a new series now called The Essentials, which is where we really try to get to the essential of a genre. And I do feel like, to Brian's point, to sort of back him up to what he's saying, I think when that was made, it was before we leaned into the Essentials branding, and I think that is a more accurate description of our 5 favorite stoner movies.
When I host the Essentials vids, you're counting down, let's say it's the 10 best, just for sake of argument, the 10 best stoner movies. Mm-hmm. At the end, what our disclaimer always is now keep in mind, this is just some. We don't have time to get to all the great stoner movies, so comment and let us know what yours, and we encourage people to do that listening or watching the show today. Let us know what your favorite stoner movies are that maybe we didn't highlight. What I think would be a fun little exercise, again, because I come from a sports mentality too, is you want to do a quick fantasy draft
bracket
of our top 3. So we're all going to have our first, second, and third round draft pick of the best movies to watch high. But if I take one, then it's off the table and y'all can't take it.
Oh, okay.
So we'll start with Jacqueline. Jacqueline gets the first round pick. So what movie on the 20 best movies to watch high are you taking at number 1? Who is your Hakeem Olajuwon? The one movie that you need out of these 20 movies.
Wow.
Probably Fifth Element.
Fifth Element is off the board for JC. Okay, Brian, you're up next.
I go comedy, so I'm going 21 Jump Street. That'll just keep me just cracking up.
I have a feeling we're not going to have a lot of cross-pollination on
21
this.
Jump Street is off the board for me. My first movie, again, I think Monty Python and the Holy Grail is the funniest movie ever made.
Whoa.
But I am not taking that as my stoner movie. I'm probably going to go with, I'm going to take Fight Club.
Ooh.
I think Fight Club is a good movie
Why is
to
that?
watch.
Why is that a stoner movie? Why is that a
He
movie?
literally has an imaginary friend the entire
He does.
film. Okay,
He
all
does have an imaginary friend
Yeah.
the
You
don't have-
entire time.
all right.
So I
Point
might
made.
You are
imbibe a little
such
bit.
a
and-
purist. Like,
What?
it's weird.
What do you mean
It's
purist?
hilarious. Like, you're like, how is this a stoner movie? You
don't
know, for
imagine
not
that.
being editorial, you're posing a lot of editorial type questions.
I have that brain.
All right, in true snake draft fashion, I get to go again because I picked the last in the first round. So my next pick, I'm going to go with Step Brothers. I
There
want
you
to
go. Yeah.
I want to giggle.
Okay.
Ryan, you're up.
Ooh, I'll go Grand Budapest because it's just got that dry sense of humor.
I
What?
am not going to miss you taking that off the board.
I-
that was
I-
nowhere near my
I-
top picks. So
I don't
Really?
doubt that.
yeah,
You know, I don't want things on here. That's the problem.
you
That's-
have
yeah.
to pick from the list.
I know.
And then we'll get to your all-time favorite movie to watch.
It's not that. It's just I'm not in love with these. I would
Oh,
say
Alex.
That's why the weed is there.
Yeah.
I
If you're
mean,
not in
look,
love with it, that's
let's
why you
circle back.
smoke.
You
Yeah.
know, I would say if I had to pick another one, I'll pick Airplane. If you make me pick another one off this list, because I won't pick Monty Python because that's what Mark is, I'm going to have a hard time. Because honestly, I like all of these movies. None of them are ones that I'm like, oh yeah, if I'm watching this the next time I'm watching it, I want to be stoned. In fact, a couple movies on our previous list for sure, but not
Right.
this one.
Yeah.
All right, so Jacqueline is absconding her final pick.
No, I gave it to you.
No, that was your second pick. Now you
Yeah.
get to give us your third pick.
Oh, I have a
Snake
Yeah.
draft.
Wait, did I
See?
get my second?
Yeah.
What was my second?
He didn't do a second.
Yes, he did.
What
He
was my
did 21 Jump Street, and he did. Didn't you take something else?
Oh,
No.
Grand Budapest.
Grand Budapest, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. You
A
did.
pick so boring, nobody even acknowledged that it happened.
Facts. Spirited Away.
Okay,
Okay.
nice horse movie.
I would say that is not a movie to be. You know what?
That's
you could
number
be,
one.
You could be stoned,
Uh-huh.
but the type of stoned is dependent on how advanced in that problems you are.
Okay. Ryan,
I would
your
say you
final
might need
pick?
more complicated stoning for that one, but true.
Has Shaun of the Dead been taken?
No, it's
And
all
I would-
yours.
I'll take Shaun of the Dead.
It's a good stoner movie.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I am going to go. I'm between 2001, Fantastic Planet, and The Matrix for my final one.
Ooh.
Tron Legacy, I can't stand Tron for one simple reason, and I've made the point on the show before. I hate when somebody who's literally never heard or played this sport before gets into this world and immediately becomes the LeBron of it. Like,
Yeah.
he's just all of a sudden he turns into Michael Vick on a football field. He's literally never played this. He didn't stretch. He
This
didn't
is where
warm
the
up.
this is where the failed athlete in you shows.
Yeah, he
Like,
didn't-
I'm not gonna
like
lie,
I work
like,
so
it's a
hard,
bit-
and this guy just comes on the court.
I'm
and-
not even mad at
Failed
you. But
athlete sounds like I was like so
I didn't say
close to
you
getting
are.
drafted.
I didn't say that this
you
makes
said the failed athlete
in
me.
you.
Yeah.
Like the little girl in me.
Yeah.
Like that little failed athlete is in there somewhere.
He's,
I think the word failed is a little
Failed
harsh.
hurts.
It's a little
Oh,
harsh.
sorry, I don't want
Yeah.
to say failed athlete. The
amateur.
the amateur superstar that you
non-professional.
were. The
Failed athlete sounds like I just missed the free throws to win the big game.
You know why
You
I
never
say
got
that?
called
Because
up.
that is your anger. That is your anger of being like, you know what? I knew where I was in this. I was here. I did the best that I could, and I played for as long as I can. The idea that some man could just be this good at anything, like as if they could teleport somebody in here to do the same thing,
I'm
it would
saying,
make you
Put
mad.
me and Garrett Hedlund on a Tron court together, and I think I could take him. That's
It's
my
a video
point.
game,
So
though. Weren't you
again-
good at Tetris right away? You didn't have to
I was
spend 1,000.
great at Tetris right away.
So again,
That's the point.
I still had to work at it, bro.
by the way, you and me watching American Idol, I am just the same bitter Betty. Do not think I'm saying this to try and make you feel worse. Are you kidding me? Watching musical theater be like, if I had love and acceptance at 16, I would be on Broadway, bitch.
the
Are you
same
kidding
bitter
me?
Betty.
Are you
I could've done
kidding me?
something.
I am resentful. I could have been a contender. And so, yeah, the failed performer in me is
the
with
amateur
you.
performer.
Is with you.
Stop using the word failed.
I'm going 2001. Because I actually want to do that.
You haven't seen it while
I haven't
inebriated?
seen it while partaking,
Mm.
so I
Oh.
might actually want to do that. Like maybe bring a gummy into a theater next time because 2001 makes the theater rounds every so often.
They
I've never
used to,
seen
yeah.
it on the big screen.
Yeah.
So that's like an ArcLight reopening kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is an Arcolite reopening, man.
Did you
They-
guys see, by the way?
I did see.
Friend, this Simon Thompson, who's
Yeah.
he's a great movie pundit. We should have him on the show at some point. He was walking by the ArcLight in Hollywood, was a casualty of the pandemic, and it was very windy here in LA the last week. So some of the boards that were up on ArcLight got knocked off by the wind, and he took a picture looking into the vast, expansive lobby of the ArcLight, and it looked like a haunted house.
That's awesome.
Weird.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it kind of looked like it looked like Crimson Peak or something. Like it was just like it like wasn't like. You knew the board, like that famous board that showed all the movies, and it was just not lit up at all. And it was just weird to look at.
So it just hasn't been touched?
I mean, what's really funny, though, is like they have to figure it out because that's a historical monument. Like, so they can't get rid of it. Yeah. So whatever happens, there has to be a theater. So somebody's probably trying to make it into something bigger that can make more money than what it is for what it is. So like they're like, oh, we'll make a theater, but we want to build condos on top of it.
Right.
And so that's probably why it's closed.
They're not just going to open the dome again.
No, because that doesn't make any money because that's already a failed business. And they're like, we're not going to change that.
I mean, whenever they do come back, and I think they will, you got to make the popcorn better.
Oh,
popcorn was not that good at all.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Popcorn at the ArcLight?
You've lived here for
the trek up the 3 flights of stairs.
The corn itself wasn't great, and then the butter topping was gross.
My thing is I just want like Alamo to buy it and then do that.
Just make
like
it.
I don't want.
I'm into that.
You know what I mean? Like I just want like another. So the thing I would tell you is Alamo is still my theater, and I like what they do. I did not have the emotional attachment to the ArcLight that all you do. The ArcLight was the theater that I went to.
I didn't. I just knew. I had a reverence for it, I guess.
I think it's more of like the Tarantino generation of the 70s and 80s who like love that. But for us, I mean, Hollywood's impossible to get to.
Yeah, that's
especially
not,
for an 8 o'clock showing.
Like I have an emotional, and not just because QT owns it, but I have an emotional attachment to the New Beverly. New Beverly is like stepping back into time. I even have an emotional attachment to even something like the Vista to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
By the way, and I've had the pleasure of telling QT this to his face. The popcorn at New Beverly
is
fantastic corn, and is by far the cheapest corn you can get in LA. It's like $3 for a large.
Whoa,
it's great, great corn.
So I would say that
Which you want when you're stoned.
Of course.
Which is what you want when you're stoned. Yeah. So I don't have the emotional attachment, but it's still a great theater. I do hope it comes back because whatever, we are all beholden to this industry. We want it to stay alive. So go see a movie, kids. Hopefully a stoner one. But if you do go stoned, don't look on your phone.
Put your phone away. It's not going to help you.
Does not give you an excuse to be rude.
If you're drunk, and it's just as dangerous with holding your phone. You're just as much of a danger when you're drunk as you are when you're high. Get the technology away from you. The only technology you need is a movie theater projector operated by somebody else.
Yes.
What's your top movie? Did you say your top stoner movie? Like a movie that you just got to put on all time?
Doesn't have to be on the list.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be on the list
Mine might be Biodome.
Is it Biodome?
You get high, you watch that, you crack up.
Yeah, it's great. And it's better high.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the Encino Mans and the Son-in-Laws were leading up to. Was the ultimate stoner movie,
not
which
Jury
is
Duty?
Biodome. Not Jury Duty, not In the Army Now, Biodome.
All right.
Amelie.
Amelie, okay.
Interesting.
That's as far as like the movie I want to watch when I'm high. Like that one.
Okay. All right. And yours is, Brian?
Well, again,
Logan's Run.
Not Logan's Run.
Definitely not Logan's Run.
A Serious Man by the Coen Brothers, that's a different kind of watching high. But just to giggle and laugh.
Step Brothers pretty high.
I liked Pineapple Express more. I'm going to go Pineapple Express.
Okay.
Because the ending scene where they're just
at
like
the diner?
Riffing and just like, you died for a second, right? And he's like, yeah, I think I did
Diner, Danny McBride laughing. We can barely move his neck. Kills me.
Again, Danny McBride just oozes just funny. Like he can just sit there and be funny, especially in This Is the End and anything he's in. Eastbound and Down, I watched high and I was just losing my mind.
I would say for me on this one, the only other thing I would add is if you are able to do what we call the more advanced stoner movies. You know what I mean when I say this. If it was that, I would say Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, boy.
I need to watch that.
That's a trip I
could not finish that.
If you are, again, this is not for the beginners. This is advanced lessons. But if you're in the advanced lesson stage of stoner movies, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, y'all know what's up.
I'm not taking Dr. Coley's class.
I'm out.
That's it for us on Stoner Movies After Dark. Brian, sir, good to see you from outside of the desk. Mark, always a pleasure, sir. And it's good to talk stoner movies with you now that you're no longer a teetotaler.
Yeah, I know. This is fun. I'm in, man. I'm in.
Once you reach failed athlete level, you just get into the drug.
Oh, my
the drug
How
world.
could I get in trouble for shading a guy that graduated high school 20 years ago? Like, this
Because
cannot
I'm
be a
still
thing.
that kid.
Like, the fact that this still makes you salty proves my point.
I'm still there. I'm still in
Got a
high school.
Letterman's jacket,
Like,
got
I'm
your class ring.
You are literally proving
But
my
I will say
point.
both my athletic career and especially my matriculation with this particular substance are highlighted in my new special, which I think, as of this recording, is going to be out within a month's time. It's called Alive and
okay.
Well. I talk about the pandemic. Everybody got a hobby. Mine happened to be something related to the show we're talking.
Ah.
So you can check that out. Should be everywhere in about a month. So it's
Nice.
called Alive and Well. Look for it.
Alive and well.
Yeah.
That is two words that are hard to put together these days, ladies and gentlemen.
It's
And
like Hoskins and Hopper.
I know. I want to remind everyone, if you have After Dark suggestions, please let us know. This is our new fun sort of
yeah.
like experiment. I'm going to be taking a slight vacation for a while, but email us.
Well-deserved.
rtiswrong@rottentomatoes.com. Look, you guys have been through this before. I normally disappear this time of year after awards season just to find peace and some centering. This year, I'll be having surgery, so I'll be gone a little bit longer, but I will be back. That's going to do it for us this week. For Mark Ellis, myself, producer and star of this episode, Mr. Brian Perez, I want to thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Excellent.
Jesus.